Okay, sorry about that. Again, I needed to delete some stuff from my phone to contain my video. I'm trying to make this as authentic as possible, so you're gonna have some mishaps in between, like that. But let's continue from where I left off, which is je veux la tasse, which is I want the cup. Again, with the pronunciation, je veux la tasse. Je veux la tasse. In English, I want the cup. Here, in both languages, the definite article makes it clear that we want a specific cup, not just any cup. However, you will notice that French uses definite articles, the, a lot more often than English does. That's because in French, definite articles are also used when you're talking about a concept or a group in general. So that you can see what we mean, let's take a look at a couple of examples below. So that you can see what we mean, let's take a look at a couple of examples. Below, you can see how you would say the sentences loyalty is important and he likes cats in French. So, I will say the first sentence. La loyauté est important. La loyauté est important. Let's get the pronunciation.
La loyauté est importante.
La loyauté est important. La loyauté est important. So, la loyauté est important. In English, it's loyalty is important. Il aime les chats. Il aime les chats is he likes cats.
Il aime les chats.
Il aime les chats. Il aime les chats. He likes cats. Pronunciation. Il aime les chats. Good pronunciation. We don't use the definite article in the English version of the sentence. Oh, okay. Yeah, so for example, you would say in English, il aime les chats. In French is he likes cats, right? The translation in English. The literal translation in English would be he likes the cats. But in English, you're not going to say he likes the cats. So yeah, we don't use the definite article in English, in the English version of these sentences, but we must. So you have to use the definite articles for these sentences in French. This is because we're talking about a concept and group in general, specifically the concept of loyalty in the first sentence, because it says la loyauté est important. In English, you're not going to say the loyalty is important, but in French, you must say la loyauté because you're talking about a concept and the concept of loyalty as a thing. And the group of animals, this would be the cats. So you must use the definite article. Below are a few more examples of sentences where you wouldn't use a definite article in English, but you would use one in French. We'll provide explanations at the end as well to help you understand what's going on in French and to allow it to sink in a bit more. Okay.
Elle aime l'école.
Elle aime l'école. And here we're using the literal translations would be she likes the school. Elle aime l'école. But the literal translation would be she likes the school. But the actual translation, like from French to English, would be she likes school. Again, let me just run that back. Elle aime l'école, the literal translation would be she likes the school, but the working translation, like the translation you would use in everyday English, would be she likes school. So let me work on my pronunciation now. Elle aime l'école. That wasn't good.
Elle aime l'école.
Elle aime l'école. Okay. Elle aime l'école.
Elle aime l'école.
Elle aime l'école. Elle aime l'école. Yeah, I need to cut it a bit brief and not try to stress on it like elle aime l'école. Elle aime l'école. Les arbres sont grands.
Les arbres sont grands.
Les arbres sont grands, which means trees are tall. But again, as I mentioned previously, the literal translation would be the trees are tall. But trees are tall is the working translation in English. Les arbres sont grands. Let's work on my pronunciation. Les arbres sont grands. Good pronunciation, which means the trees are tall. L'amour est beau. L'amour est beau.
L'amour est beau.
L'amour est beau.
L'amour est beau.
L'amour est beau. So in this example, we're talking about the concept of love. So you would, because we're talking about the concept of love, we would say l'amour. And because amour starts with a vowel, l'élision must occur. So we'll have the L, we have the apostrophe, A-M-O-U-R, l'amour est beau. Let's work on my pronunciation. L'amour est beau. And l'amour est beau, its literal translation is love is beautiful. Sorry, its literal translation would be the love is beautiful, but the working translation is love is beautiful. Great. So in the examples above, we're talking about school and love as concepts or generic ideas. And we're also talking about the class of plants that are trees, or trees in general. In English, this means that we don't use any articles. However, in French, the rules are different. We must use the definite articles. This way of using definite articles can seem very strange at first to English speakers. This is correct. So don't worry if it doesn't quite make sense. This is one of those things that you will naturally pick up a feeling for over time. To help you understand this idea, we've looked strictly at how you would translate English into French in this section. But you should keep in mind that when you're going the other way, the French definite articles can also always be translated into English using the. So for example, les arbres sont grands can mean trees are tall, talking about trees in general, or the trees are tall, talking about a specific group of trees. Both translations are possible. It may seem confusing that more than one translation works, but don't worry, context will always let you know what people mean. So, as they mentioned in this paragraph, translating from French to English, there are two different translations that they use there. The trees are tall and trees are tall. However, translating from English to French, it doesn't always work, because there are many times I am trying to talk to my friends and I would say it the way I would say in English, and my friends would be like, what are you trying to say? Because translating directly from English to French does not work. The inverse works, but the English to French doesn't work all the time. There might be one or two moments where it might work, and it's not that you wouldn't be understood, but it just wouldn't be good French. And we're all about trying to speak good French. Okay. Now, the last thing we need to mention about definite articles, I'm continuing the lesson, in French is how they can be combined with the words à, at, and à, which means at / to, and de, which means of / from. So let's go through it. Funky combinations. Because things need to be smooth when French is spoken aloud, the words à, again, which means at / to, and de, which means of / from, actually combine with the French definite articles le and les to form new words. This might seem like a strange concept, but it's a little bit like how will and not get smashed together to form won't in English. The main difference is that using the contraction won't is optional in English, but these combinations aren't optional in French. Obviously, they are not. Let's see how they work, beginning with à, at / to combinations. Combinations with à, take a look at the table below. So the gender, masculine, if we have a with the accent above it, it's not accent in French, I can't remember what it is. In Spanish, you would say accent. You have a plus the article, which would be le. So it's a plus the definite article le. The result would be o, au. Okay, let's do that again. So the gender is masculine. The definite article would be le. You have a, le, the combination of the both, you will get o. Okay. The gender is feminine. The definite article is la. We have a plus la, you will get ala as the final result. The illid version, we have a plus l apostrophe, you would get al, I think, al, yeah. And the plural version, you have a plus le, you would get o, which is aux. So for the plural version, there's aux, which sounds similar to the masculine version, masculine result, which is auo. So it's like o. Okay. Let's continue. Now, le and les combine with a to form single words o and o. Meanwhile, la and l apostrophe don't change. They remain separate from a. Okay, good. You'll find some example sentences below so that you can get some practice with all of these and hear how they sound. We've highlighted where a is used with the definite articles so that it is easier to find and the meanings are easier to see. Okay, so for example, je suis au travail. I am at work.
Je suis au travail.
Je suis au travail. And the reason we have to say je suis au travail, the reason the S in suis becomes pronounced je suis and it sounds a bit like a Z is because O starts with a vowel. So we have to do la liaison. So je suis au travail. Let's work on my pronunciation. Je suis au travail. Again, when we have the masculine le and a, the combination, we get O. Okay. Il est à la porte. So porte is a feminine noun. That is why we have a la in front of porte, even though we are talking about a man in this instance, because il is he. So he is à la porte, at the door. Okay. Il est à la porte.
Il est à la porte.
Il est à la porte, and we have to pronounce the T in et because A is a vowel. I'm saying it, but I'm forgetting it when I'm pronouncing it. Il est à la porte. Let's do that again. Il est à la porte. Okay. Il est à la porte. Good pronunciation. Okay. We have les enfants sont à l'école. Les enfants sont à l'école. So in this instance, we have a and la coming together. So because we have a and la coming together, l'école is a feminine noun. So this is why we have à l'école. So les enfants sont à l'école. Les enfants sont à l'école.
Les enfants sont à l'école.
Les enfants sont à l'école, which means the children are at school or the children are at the school. Les enfants sont à l'école.
Les enfants sont à l'école.
Les enfants sont à l'école. Les enfants sont à l'école. Good pronunciation. The last sentence. Ils vont aux États-Unis. Ils vont. So we need to say ils vont aux États-Unis. Ils vont aux États-Unis.
Ils vont aux États-Unis.
And the reason the T becomes pronounced in ventre is because O starts with a vowel, so we must do la liaison. Ils vont aux États, and the reason we're saying États-Unis, aux États, wait.
Ils vont aux États-Unis.
Ils vont aux États-Unis. The sentence sounds like one complete. Ils vont aux États-Unis. And if you're speaking to someone, a French native speaker, it's going to sound extremely sharp. And it's because la liaison must happen in the sentence. So, ils vont aux États-Unis means they are going to the United States. Ils vont aux États-Unis. Okay, so I did my pronunciation, I did my sentence, it's registered in the app perfectly. Ils vont aux États-Unis, they are going to the United States. Let's continue with the lesson. Notice how these sentences all require a definite article, the in French, even if we mean at work or at school, talking about the general concept of work or school. There is a lot of new vocabulary in these sentences, so don't worry if you're having trouble picking it up at all. Just concentrate on how at/to works with the definite articles. And notice how these combinations can be translated as either at the or to the. Now for de, of/from. Combination with de, of/from. Here is a table below showing what happens when definite articles are combined with de. Okay, so just like I'm going to go through the process when you combine the definite article with de. Okay, so the gender we have masculine, the article we have de, which is of/from. plus the definite article le, which is the. When de and le combine, we have du. Okay, for the feminine, we have the definite article la, and we have de. When de and la combine, we get de la. Final result. We have the elid, we have de plus the L apostrophe. When they both combine, we have del, which is de space L apostrophe. Okay, and for the plural version, when we have de and the definite article le, when they combine, we have de. Okay, let's continue with the lesson. Once again, only le, the, and les, the plural, meld together with de of/from to form a new word. La and L apostrophe remain independent. So for the masculine version, for the masculine de and le, when they combine, we get a new word. For the plural de and le, when they combine, we get a new word. So we get de and we get du. However, for the feminine versions, they stay separate. So we have de la, del apostrophe. Okay. Below are some example sentences for practice. Once again, we've bolded the sentence instances of de, of/from, and the definite articles for you. Okay. C'est le livre du professeur. C'est le livre du professeur, which means this is a teacher's book.
C'est le livre du professeur.
Okay, let me work on my pronunciation. C'est le livre du professeur, which means, again, it's the teacher's book. Then we have Je reviens de la plage. Je reviens de la plage.
Je reviens de la plage.
Je reviens de la plage, which means I'm coming back from the beach. You have de la. Plage is a feminine noun, so we have the definite article la. And because de means of/from, you would say Je reviens de la plage. Okay, this is the sentence construction. Oh my gosh. Je reviens de la plage.
Je reviens de la plage.
Je reviens de la plage, okay. Je reviens de la plage, which means I am coming back from the beach. Le vent vient de l'ouest. Le vent vient de l'ouest. Le vent vient de l'ouest, which means the wind is coming from the west.
Le vent vient de l'ouest.
Le vent vient de l'ouest. And again, we have ouest is feminine, so we have L apostrophe, and the reason we have L apostrophe is because ouest starts with a vowel. So le vent vient de l'ouest, which means the wind is coming from the west. Le vent vient de l'ouest. Et voilà, which means again the wind is coming from the west. Last sentence.
Les roues des valises sont cassées.
Les roues des valises sont cassées, which means the wheels of the suitcases are broken. Les roues des valises sont cassées.
Les roues des valises sont cassées.
Les roues des valises sont cassées. In this example, we have de and le coming together, so we have de. Les roues des valises sont cassées. The wheels of the suitcase are broken. Les roues des valises sont cassées. Let's try again. Les roues des valises sont cassées. Good pronunciation. As you can see here, de of/from, when combined with a definite article, takes on the meaning of the, from the. Okay. If you take another look at the first sentence above, if you take another look at first sentence above, though, you'll notice how a construction of de of/from can be used to talk about possession. English has the apostrophe s to show this kind of thing, but French is a bit more long-winded. Here's an example of how this looks when de of/from is by itself because no definite article the is necessary. Le frère de Jean, the brother of Jeanne. Le frère de Jean. Le frère de Jean. Jeanne. Le frère de Jeanne.
Le frère de Jeanne.
Okay. Le frère de Jeanne.
Le frère de Jeanne.
Le frère. Le frère. Le frère de Jeanne. Okay, good pronunciation. Le frère de Jeanne, which means the brother of Jeanne or Jeanne's brother. Action replay. French has 4 possible forms of the. Le, la, L apostrophe, and les. Le and les combine with a, to, which a means to/at, to become o and o respectively. Le and les combine with a, which means to/at, to become o and o respectively. Le and les combine with de, of/from, to become du and de respectively. Definite articles are used more often in French than they are in English. Okay, so let's do the culture lesson today. And the culture lesson today focuses on l'Académie Française, which is l'Académie Française, which is the French Academy. When you look at the words Académie Française, Académie Française, French Academy, you might assume that we're talking about some kind of prestigious French school. As a matter of fact, it's an institution whose main responsibility is to dictate the rules of the French language. L'Académie Française, the French Academy, began back in 1635. And its main purpose was to codify the French language. That is, to set out things like the correct spelling of words and the correct usage of grammar. The point was to take all of the variations in the language that exist at the time and hammer out a single unified version of French that everyone could follow. And in general, that's what l'Académie continues to do today. They keep an up-to-date dictionary, le Dictionnaire de l'Académie Française, and decide things like what new words are allowed into the French language, what spelling changes should take place, and what evolution in grammar should be considered. As the French language continues to change and grow like a living thing, l'Académie is there to provide the final say on what is and isn't proper. Of course, l'Académie has no real tangible power over ordinary people. It isn't an office that can make enforceable decrees or exact punishments for those who choose not to obey. Nevertheless, it's still considered by many to be the authority on the French language. But that doesn't mean that l'Académie is without its critics. The institution is made up of 40 lifetime members known as les mortels, which means the immortals, who is considered by some to be excessively stuffy and old-fashioned in their choices, or slow to catch up with the modern evolution of the language. So you won't be alone if l'Académie Française isn't your favorite French institution. After all, they are responsible for spelling like cacachu. I'm butchering that word, which means rubber in English. Nevertheless, you can thank them for helping to shape the beautiful language that we know and love today. So,
L'Académie Française.
L'Académie Française. Good. Le dictionnaire de l'Académie Française.
Le dictionnaire de l'Académie Française.
Le dictionnaire de l'Académie Française.
Les immortels.
Les immortels. Final word.
Le caoutchouc.
Le caoutchouc. Wow. Le caoutchouc means the rubber in English, which is a material. But I will spell this word for you guys. L-E, caoutchouc, C-A-O-U-T, C-H-O-U-C. Le caoutchouc, which means the rubber in English. Let me try to pronounce it. Le caoutchouc. Good pronunciation. Let me hear.
Le caoutchouc.
Okay. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I'm going to go through my exercises to reinforce my learning. And yeah, I hope this was helpful. This is all about the in French. Again, I'm going over some of the, I would say, boring lessons. And the reason I'm saying boring is because there are other lessons in this application, which is very, very interactive. And I probably will do one of those tomorrow for you guys to see. But this lesson is essential because there are certain rules that you must know in order for you to speak a certain level of French. And my desire is to speak a high level of French. I know it's never going to be as high as my level of English, but who knows? At least I have a goal to strive for. So I hope this lesson helps someone today, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.